This is our publisher.
Hey, how are you?
How are you
For
doing?
Lansbury.
Nice to meet you. Everything good?
Yeah.
Hi, how are you doing? Good.
Mindy should know.
Okay.
Should be on
Charles
the
and
way.
Abby.
She was
Okay.
communicating all weekend, as you
Okay.
know.
You should say that John Yearwood, our world editor, apologized. He's here till 2:30 in the morning with the
Venezuelan vote.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
We thought he should sleep
yes, definitely.
at some point. You know.
Absolutely. I met him the last time, I came here with the president the last time when he had the interview.
Yeah.
Good? Well, welcome.
Thank you.
So much. I'm glad we could work it out. We had a little bit of back and forth over the weekend trying to get you here, but it's great to be that you're here. And I'd like to just get the meeting that you've asked for, and we're very pleased that you're here. So if you could tell us a little bit about the proposals that you have, and we'll have some questions about where you've been in the last, what's it been now, almost 6 months, 5 months that you've been in this position?
No. I
Not that
have
much?
for 16th of May
May.
is when I started.
I started was March, yeah.
No, May, like
5 months?
Yeah.
Yeah. Time flies when you're having fun.
It seems like an eternity. No, I wanted to, we met in New York a few weeks ago, and I wanted to, Haiti is going through some big changes, so it's important to, to talk to big newspapers such as yourselves, just to keep you abreast as to what's going on. And there's a huge Haitian community in Florida, so we want to also keep them abreast as to the progress, the challenges, where we're going, and some of the huge task ahead, basically. So I wanted to just have this this chat with you, so that we all can give our input and have a a participatory approach to the development of Haiti. As you know, the context is very difficult. We've inherited a situation that's very challenging, and we're doing several reforms on several different aspects. So that's why we wanted to talk to you about.
Okay, great. What kinds of reforms are you working on? I'd be interested in hearing a little bit more about education. I know that the schools had to be delayed in opening, and I know that President Martelly had a special program to increase building schools through the phone call revenue. So I'd be interested in knowing where that is and
Sure.
where you're moving.
Sure.
And
The
whatever.
reforms, we have reforms in different sectors. The education is one where, we've introduced a new law in Parliament that was passed in the chamber, in the lower chamber, that is going, to be passed right now in the Senate. And that law basically finances, it's an education fund that will be able to not only provide close to 2 million children tuition waiver program, build new schools, increase teachers' pay. As you know, we have one of the lowest teacher salary in the region. Right now, the average salary for a PhD is $800 a month. So, and we have almost 240 new schools to be built in the country, and another 2,000 schools to be refurbished. So that law basically will not only add a few taxes, alcohol, a 2% alcohol tax that will go to finance education, 2% lottery tax also to finance education. There will be also 2% of the profit of the largest bank in Haiti, which is BNC. 2% of their proceeds will go to finance education, and a number of other aspect. So basically, we hope to raise about $100 million every year to finance the education program. And we
When will
hope
that Senate be taking that up? Is there an idea yet as far as I know that
they're supposed to
run
do
it.
it any day,
Okay.
any day in the next few weeks.
Is this on top of the tax on telecommunications?
Yes, yes.
Was that not sufficient?
No, it's not. It only brings about between 40 to 50 million dollars a year. And when you look at the challenges that we are facing, we have, we had 600,000 children out of the school system. Now we have 400,000. We're able to include 200,000, but we still have 400,000 to include in the system. We have to increase the pay of 17,000 teachers in the primary school and high school. And we have to increase the pay of the university teachers. Also, we have to refurbish the 2,000 schools. We have to do teachers training, because in Haiti, 70% of the teachers have not completed 6th grade, basically. So we need to train the teachers. And that's a $23 million program in its own, just the teacher training program. And the quality of education, needs to improve also. So we're investing in that right now. We have very little. Before the surcharge on telecommunications and wire transfer, we had little to no means to do any of that. Because of that, because of the surcharge, we were able to include 1.2 million children in the free school program right now. It was 1 million last year. This year we added 200,000 plus the audit, because we also did an audit of the program to see what was working, what was not. So we're very satisfied with what it's brought us so far. So with the new law, with the education fund, we'll be able to add those taxes to bring it up to about 100 million and really make a big difference into the education system in Haiti.
Now, were the schools late in starting this year? I believe they should.
No, what we've done, the year before, we started October 3rd, last year. So this year, it was scheduled to open September 3rd. We decided to push it to October 1st because we were basically, completing our preparation for the school. We had to finish paying the teacher salaries. We had, some work to finalize before we opened it. So now it's open. Now it's open, and it's been going. I mean, it's everything in Haiti is challenging, but this one, we've been able to open the schools, and it's working out very well now.
Great, and then, like you said, the rest of the bill being put in place, the Senate, you consider that close?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this reform may be the closest of all of them to being fully put in place.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, we want to get to 6% GDP in education. That's what we want to get at.
And currently,
currently it's less than 2%.
Okay.
So, we want to continue to invest in the coming years in order to, we feel that this is one area where Haiti needs the most. We're talking about an illiteracy rate of 75%. Mm-hmm. We're talking about, because of the extreme poverty level, we're talking at, the average Haitian family has 4 kids and a $750 a year average revenue per family. And when you see that the school costs $200 per year times 4 kids, that would eat up basically all their income. So that's why you have an average of 1 to 2 child outside, and then it creates all kinds of issues, like even to the extent exactly. So so we feel that this is one of the biggest reforms and one that we've taken on, and that we should succeed at it. And it's all about financing. A country cannot survive with permanent financing in education, and we didn't have that before. So now we are. We are also doing a major reform in the corruption sector. We've tackled. There's a new law that's introduced in Parliament in order to basically declare all the assets of government officials, all the way down to the Director General of ministries. right now, all the ministers have declared their assets, which was not done before. So now all the ministers of this government have declared all their assets. There is a right to information also that's being added into the law, into the corruption law, to know exactly afterwards, just to give the press access to records, to official records regarding the files of these officials. So we're also making it binding in terms of if there is an outside. I mean, right now the law is very weak. The corruption law is very weak. So private individuals could influence decisions by corrupting officials without any consequences, basically. So with this law, there will be accountability for that.
What are the penalties?
Well, the penalties that we the penalties goes all the way to imprisonment, basically. Right now, for example, it's not clear in the law because the law is very antiquated. So we are also in the business sector. We are reforming that.
Tell us one more thing before the business sector. How close, what point along the path is this legislation or these changes on corruption?
Okay. What we wanted to do when the president was just elected, we were working. We had no members of parliament, and Haiti is like a parliamentary system. So it took us a year. It took us almost 2 years, to stabilize this situation. The president. It took us all the way up to last week, I would say, to settle in with the parliament. Now in the lower chamber there is a 64-member majority. It's almost 2/3. We're missing 2 to have a 2/3 absolute majority. And we had a retreat with the senators this weekend to have also a majority in the Senate of 11 out of 20. So it's closer, but it's still where a majority is. Now with those 2 majorities, we'll be able to put in the reforms necessary for the country to move forward. And without that, it was just very difficult. So
although that's very close.
It
so
is.
A couple could hold, kind of hold up the process a little bit.
Yes, yes, but at least the Chamber of Deputies, and usually when the law is introduced there and passed, and everybody understands the common sense of it, usually it goes through. If there is a good follow up from our side, it usually goes through. Like the education, it went through fine. Now it's it should be going to the Senate in the coming weeks. So we're very confident that this will happen. I mean, the most important thing is to work on the structure. Once we have the majority, then we can fast track some of these reforms, and that are key to helping the country move forward.
So this particular one still needs to go through both houses.
Yes.
Not through anything yet. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
There is another reform that we've seen reported on the investment law, and we've seen both sides of it, that it's in place and that it's not in place.
There is, what we're doing is 2 things. In the investment law, we have introduced 4 new laws in the parliament. One of them is the electronic commerce law. There is an insurance law. So the electronic commerce is the one that we're going to be focused in, is to make doing business via email legal. Because right now it's not. It will reduce the clutter, the paperwork, the red tape. Because right now everything has to be, basically doing business via email is not legal. So we want to catch up with modernity, to be modern and catch up with what the country is supposed to be. Also, we've instituted a presidential investment advisory board similar to Rwanda and Singapore, in order to advise as to the best business practices, in order to advise on basically attract foreign direct investment. As you probably know, out of the $3 billion US dollar yearly budget that Haiti has, we're only able to cover $1 billion from our own sources of revenue. The rest is coming from external financing. So it's imperative for us. The attraction of the foreign direct investment is imperative to create the necessary jobs and bring in the necessary tax revenue for the country to be able to sustain itself without having to go on the external with external donors in order to cover that. So that's one area that we're focusing on, and we've done different things in order to attract that investment. The advisory board is when we have 32 of, we have some very large investors, very influential people in that board, and we hope that that something very positive will come out of that, at least to promote the investment side.
That's an international board, or is it a board of Haitian citizens?
No, it's international. It's
That's what I
international.
thought.
There is some Haitians, but it's
Right.
mostly international, because it focuses on
The
promoting
business
Haiti.
climate that would be needed to make investments safe and lucrative.
Exactly.
Because that's, and I think, people from the outside looking at Haiti, the earthquake was so devastating coming on top of the hurricanes and everything else, but the pace of change has been so slow. And so it's hard for those on the outside to envision, why there's still so many people in tents, why, the urgency part of this seems to have slipped away. How do you restore some of that to get the global community to kind of refocus on the needs in Haiti in a way that they start to see some returns, that that there's progress?
Well, I believe that we've started in the past few months doing that. I believe it starts with leadership and showing what the new leadership can do, and showing that we're able to go to have at least one positive, two positives, and go step by step and gaining the confidence of the donor community. There's been a lack of confidence, and there's been some donors that are basically waiting to see what's going to happen. And to be honest with you, the context was not easy. We found when President Martelly was in office after the earthquake, 50% of the population in Port-au-Prince was homeless. Imagine in Florida having 5.5 million homeless and living in tents all over. For any government, it will be a huge challenge. And out of the 50% that we found homeless, which was 1.5 million out of 3 million, 80% of them have been relocated in the past year and a half. They've been relocated to their original neighborhoods, and we've paid a 1-year rental subsidy, for them to resettle and to be able to have, what they had before. We know that we have a lot to do, because before the conditions were not, were not good, but at least they were better than living, basically in tents in the middle of the street. So this is on top of that, we have, we found 75% of people, not only they were, homeless, but also jobless. So only 25%, people had a job. Out of the 25%, almost 80% of those, they were in the informal sector. So we were collecting no revenues from that. So it's to give you the context of a situation where the context that we found. Of course, we've done several things, since then, in order to correct, to start to correct that, because it's gonna take time. It's gonna take time, energy. It's gonna take patience, insistence. It's gonna take dedication to move away from that situation. So right now, the good news is, I don't know if you've seen the latest reports, but we have the fastest growing economy in the Caribbean at 6% this year, and it's projected to go at 7.5% in 2013. And that's due to a lot of investment a lot of public investment that's going into the economy right now. For the homeless, we've done two things. We've invested into relocating them into their homes. That was about, between the donor community and ourselves, that was about $100 million. That's one. Two, we have started for the first time ever to build, a very large housing project, social housing project for the victims. So we're building right now 3,000 homes, 1,000 of which will be ready in December. Will be inaugurated in December. In that, we have an industrial park that will create 3,500 jobs for those people living there. We have also created 40,000 jobs in the past 3 months into waste management, agriculture, and infrastructure maintenance. So, you know, we're pushing ahead with that. We have new tourism investment that we're doing in Jacmel. Basically, we're focusing on 3 key areas, which is the Cap Haitian area. On the 22nd, I'd like to also invite you to Haiti. We're inaugurating the Northern Industrial Park, and the Secretary of State is going to be there, Hillary Clinton, and there's going to be, you know, it's going to be a very, we hope that it's going to be a very good day for Haiti. We have very large, Richard Branson is going to be there, so there is many large investors going.
Remind us the scale of that particular project that you're going to inaugurate and what your hopes are for
Well,
that.
it's the largest project in terms of job creation in the history of the country. It's almost a $300 million investment into the north part of Haiti. It will create direct jobs, you know, 20,000, indirect jobs, 60,000. So it will reinvigorate the whole northern region of the country, and also it goes into our strategy of decentralizing the development of the country. Everything right now is focused into Port-au-Prince, and as you've seen, even, you know, no matter how much money you spend in Port-au-Prince, I mean, the fact that there is so much to do, to bring it back to where it should be, visually visually, structurally, it will take, you know, many $billions of investment. It was estimated at 12.5 billion. So if you invest 5 billion right now, you won't see, you know, whereas the North, you invest 300 million and you see, I mean, you know, I hope that one of you will go, you will see the difference that it brings. I mean, we have a new university there, a $30 million university that we open on the 20th of September. We have the industrial park. We have a new electric plant there, and along with the U.S. cooperation, we're looking at also building a new port. But, you know, we're doing the studies to find out the best environmentally friendly place to do it right now. So in terms of investing in the country, Haiti has to take advantage of some of the trade agreements we have with the U.S. And the Northern Industrial Park will give us a platform in order to receive those investments and for the shipping to be done to the U.S. without any duties, basically. So no matter the place of origin. So basically, if you know, we will create the jobs, and we will also at the same time benefit from the trade agreement that we have.
So what kinds of jobs are we talking about, the industrial park? What companies are going to be coming in?
Right now we have, there's 3 or 4 companies going there. Right? There is also a Haitian company, a paint manufacturing company going there right now. There is a Korean company that's mostly in assembly, manufacturing, in assembly, textile assembly. You have also a furniture company going to be there. And at the same time, you know, we're talking to several others in order to, you know, we're talking to the largest, you know, U.S. companies to also go there. So it's a work in progress. Of course, you know, we have to take things, you know, one step at a time, making sure that right now, for example, you know, one of the reasons why the economy also is growing fast is we are not only investing. We started, the reconstruction started officially also, because not only we're doing the housing project, we also started building the public infrastructure. We built already 8 sports stadiums. We're gonna do 140 small basketball courts, one in each commune of the country, to develop, you know, to help the youth and develop that sport. That's contributing. We also we're doing the 2 airports. The Cap Haitian airport, we should be finished before October 22nd, so that the Secretary of State can land on the new runway.
That'd be good.
We're working hard at it. And the Port-au-Prince airport should be open by the end of next month, with a new terminal that can accommodate over 1 million passengers.
You know, you're right. As you know, there is a big Haitian exile community here in Miami, and a lot of them are your supporters, but a lot of them are your critics as well. Like when you see protests like we've seen in the last few weeks, what we hear directly and indirectly from the critics is that this reflects a lot of discontent within the community, especially with the Port-au-Prince, and that any little spark will, set things back. How do you feel about it? How do you assess all this?
Well, our job is to first of all, we understand that for any government taking on a challenge like this, there will be frustrations because we cannot help everybody. No, we don't have the means to help everybody at the same time. We don't have the we have the will, but we don't have the resources to help everybody at the same time. So it's going to take time to get to every sector of the country. And we listen to people, we listen to them, and then we take notes in order to execute basically on what they're complaining about. Most of the complaints were dealing with the high cost of living. Now, with a country where 7 out of 10 people are not working or don't have an income, and we're looking at 5 basic staples: rice, beans, flour, corn, and then cooking oil. Those are the 5 that we're looking at. We've noticed, we've taken a lot of measures. The price of rice has gone down since the last 3 weeks. It's gone down 4.60%, 4.6%. That's the price of rice, which is the largest staple. And there was a drought in the United States, and the commodity prices have gone up. So when that happens, it goes up also in Haiti. There was Hurricane Isaac, the tropical storm, that destroyed basically 40% of our agricultural crops for this year. That contributed to a price increase. So we understand the people's frustration, and we're working at it in order to meet them. But at the end of the day, it's the job creation. We have to create jobs, in a massive scale, in order for this problem to be dealt with on the long run. Because any country in the world, you have 80% unemployment or 75% unemployment. You have to take. You have to pay very close attention to the price of the basic commodities.
So you don't think these protests are indicative of a larger underlying political problem?
Well, I take them at face value. They're complaining about, and it's a specific sector that's complaining about a specific issue, and it's an issue that we're dealing with. We have a commission that we put together with the different ministries in the private sector to deal with, basically, to come up with a short, mid, and long run strategy to deal with the rising food prices. We worked on the rice right now. With the Japanese cooperation, we received, and that will deal with it on a very short term, but in this case it helps. And it helped reduce the price by close to 5% right now. And 5% is a lot because the 5% was the increase that created, the discontent. And I can perfectly understand that. And we had several discussions with the distributors and importers. But, in a country, the underlying issue in Haiti is in 1986, we were basically food independent. We produced for the local consumption. Since then, we import almost everything. And we don't necessarily have the means to import them. So right now, the population depends on price fluctuations on the market, and we're talking about very price-sensitive people. The price, to give you an example, the price that we're talking about here increased 12 US cents per cup of rice. And I'm breaking it down, to you
Right,
to see
street
the
level.
cup, the street level.
Yeah.
It's 12 cents, the cup. That's what created the discontent. And when we went into it, when the commission went into it, it was speculation that created the increase because of the lack of supply on the market because of the tropical storm Isaac. So, and instead of, to make it simple, instead of 6 importers importing what they were supposed to, because we consume 40,000 tons a month, only one imported. And that boat of rice came, the price went from $19 a bag to $22 a bag. And then the distributor went, instead of making 10 cents, he made $3 for that particular boat, and that increased the price. So now, just by having discussions with them, we brought it back, and with the supply now, with the independent supply from Japan, the price went even. And we're gonna continue to have it down. But that's on the very short-term strategy. Mid-term strategy, Haiti needs to have food storage facilities, which we don't now. So right now, we're depending on the import boat that's coming from the US, or that's coming from Japan, or that's coming from wherever. If that boat is late, we have a price increase. So, we're working to have a food storage facility, to have silos with the different staples that will have at least a 45-day storage, so that we're not dependent on market volatility. Of course, it's not going to solve all the problems, but then it's going to give us a cushion for the price to remain stable for 45 days. That's 2. 3, the Commission is working towards having those 5 staples declared national security staples. So what does that mean? That means that we will do what we're doing for the gasoline. The gasoline, we have one agency of the government that buys and secures yearly prices from large suppliers, keeping the market open because we take the orders. I mean, basically what we do is that we just provide a cushion of stability for the prices to be set for a year. Mm-hmm. That's what we're gonna be doing. So the price is what, and then we're gonna look at also the price all the way to the street vendors to make sure that there is no fluctuation there. Because as keeping the market open at the same time, but a 12-cent increase cuts out 200,000 people from a daily meal.
I'm guessing that includes rules against gouging, or
yes, of course.
Taking if it's
it's price gouging that was happening. That's why the price increased. So it's definitely that it's preventing price gouging.
What about, is there something in the longer term strategy about increasing agriculture to the point where you must, what would you say?
That's what, because I gave you the short term, which is basically what we've done so far. The midterm is to have the silos and to have the policy in place and to have the different order mechanism to stabilize the price that will have a positive impact on the mid run. On the long run, it's investing in production. So the Ministry of Agriculture, also with the private sector, we're incentivizing them in order to invest in the production sector. Right now, Haiti produces about 80,000 tons per year, and we consume 400,000. So we have a big gap to close. Investing in the production and coming up with incentives from the government, and that's what the commission. I put together this commission. They're gonna give recommendations that we're gonna apply in the Council of Ministers next week. So, but this is what is gonna come out of it, and then we're gonna have a part of the budget of next year's budget that's gonna be dedicated basically, a part of the budget will go towards buying locally from local, small farmers, planters, and producers to incentivize them. So that we feel should, of course, because it's a market economy. If the price goes up significantly in the international market, we hope that the mechanism will be put in place before so that we can secure that price. But the gasoline price in Haiti doesn't go up or down because we have that same mechanism.
So with land production, I don't know enough about this, but there's not a lot of land and there's not a lot of private property ownership of agricultural land. So how do you foresee a land distribution plan, or how would this work, or just some of the major? Right
now, there is enough land, today in order to produce for the local consumption. What there isn't is basically it's a price issue, and there is no investment.
It's not worth the operating farms.
Right, because if importing the rice is cheaper than producing it locally. So we have to make it, the government has to make it attractive to producing it locally, and also making it more attractive for the private sector and for the small planters, in order for that business to provide a profit, basically, because it's profit driven.
Right.
You know, so right now there's more profit on one than the other. So we're working with the private sector also in order to make it more lucrative, or as lucrative, even though it's not, even if it's not as lucrative, but the government can intervene to make it at least equal, in order for them to buy local and create the jobs. Agriculture, the agricultural job can take care of the unemployment issue that we have. You know, just investing in agriculture and feeding the population. You know, so I'll give you an example. We import $1.2 billion a year of foodstuff from the Dominican Republic, for example. Everything from carrots to tomatoes to lettuce to eggs. All things that we could produce in Haiti and create the jobs and keep the people, you know, and keep food on the tables. But we had an extreme opening, and that basically, if you follow the trend of what happened to Haiti in 1986, when that was when all the taxes went down on these products, that created a massive unemployment, and people came to Port-au-Prince to look for jobs. And those are all the people right now living in the townships around Port-au-Prince trying to look for a job, because they lost all the agricultural jobs because of all the protection went down. And you know, right now, you know, for Haiti to import $1.2 billion a year, when you have 52% of the people living in extreme poverty, you know, I mean, you can see the correlation. You know, we have to invest in the production in agriculture. That will put us back to where we should be.
And that could come by way of help with capital, or,
yes,
or also price subsidies,
price,
on whatever's being produced.
Look, we're looking at different aspects. We're looking at putting more capital. We're looking at also helping with you know, anywhere from machinery. Right now, it's a survival type of agriculture. Irrigation.
Right.
You know, the government is looking at that. You know, with different cooperations from different countries. So it's a question of prioritizing, you know, what we want to do. So right now we want to irrigate. We want to help. We want to train also the farmers and giving them value. We want to give their work value, and making their work being able to have a good return, or a decent return, which right now it doesn't. You know, right now it's better for them to leave there, instead of planting you know, coffee, for example. They prefer to come and look for a job, because what they're growing is not, they're losing money on it, basically, or it's just perishing with them. So that's the situation. It's not an easy situation. That's why we put it as a mid to long run strategy, and it's going to be very costly. But we're working with a lot of international partners in order to put that as a priority, and having people invest in that, and the government, from the resources, the little resources that we have, to invest in that as well.
Tell us a little bit more about other types of infrastructure outside of agriculture, but what you need to run cities, roads, power, etc. What's happening, and what do you need to happen in the near term?
There is no development without electricity. So right now, Haiti has a deficit of about 500 megawatts of electricity. We have not invested into the substation and distribution channel since 1971. So the shape of this structure is basically in very poor shape. So the World Bank just approved a $90 million grant to invest into the substation and distribution. And to give you an example, in a country where you have 5 out of 10 living with less than $1 a day, we have $200 million that we invest in every year in subsidies of electricity, in order to get a blackout. Because at the end of the day, we invested, but we're not getting the electricity, because we invested in some IPPs. So the IPP give power to to the utility, but the utility loses 65% of it due to the problem substation and distribution. And billing, there is no billing right now. So it's a losing proposition. So right now we're investing into prepaid meters, a billing system, and the distribution. And so we're going backwards. We're going, to the homes with prepaid meters. We just ordered right now 42,000 prepaid meters. To the World Bank investing the 90 million in the substation and the distribution. It's a $160 million project. So we're looking at covering that with the assistance. The U.S. also is helping in that particular sector. And we're looking at, from the budget to also covering a small difference in order to fix the distribution. And on the production side now, that's what we're currently producing about 200 megawatts, so we need to get 300 megawatts from foreign direct investment. So we're working all three simultaneously. So we have the project leader working with investors, we have a project leader working on the distribution and substation, and we have a project leader working on the sales side, basically, to be able to collect. Out of every $100 of electricity that we give to a home, we send a bill 3 or 4 months later for $33, and out of the 33 we only collect 19 right now. So, and we have to pay the 100.
Right.
So that's
upside down.
Yeah,
big time.
Yeah. So we're gonna invest. We're investing in that sector in order to reform that. But instead of investing in the production, we're investing in the collection, distribution, substation, and then increasing the capacity in order to make it a viable business, basically.
And does the availability of this power, do you believe that it'll ultimately help lower the wood burning, the tree problem, other things, or it won't necessarily?
For that, what we're doing is, we have to increase the accessibility of right now we're investing also. We're working private investors to invest in LNG and to invest in propane gas and propane tanks in order to distribute to the population in order to reduce the need to cut trees. Right now, only 1.5% of the country is covered in trees. So the country, they cut almost all the trees, so there's almost no trees left. So we have no choice but to go into that direction and reducing the need for tree cutting.
But the path is more likely natural gas and propane rather than...
Yes.
Prime Minister Lamothe, wanted to just hit on a couple of points you made. One has to do with the current political situation. As you know, there was talk in recent days about calling you before Parliament for a confidence vote. The international community's position is that Haiti can't keep going on its protests, counter-protests, and that it has to move to a governance pact. That's what they're starting to push. Whereas the government and the opposition sit down, decide what are some issues that need to be addressed. For instance, you mentioned in terms of the protests, yes, there are people complaining about cost of living, but there's also complaints about allegations of corruption. Also, we're hearing from the various political parties and civil society that are now joining forces against the government in an opposition movement. So wanted to ask you your reaction to that, and also, are you willing to discuss some sort of governance pact, and what is your position on this whole issue of the Permanent Electoral Council, which has kept the country in a protracted crisis for the last couple of months?
I like to make a difficult problem easy. There is a constitutional amendment that was passed, that was voted by the Parliament, that states exactly the road to follow for the elections. That is very clear. It says, once the amendment is published, there is a permanent electoral council that's put up with 9 members. 3 members from the judicial branch, 3 members from the executive, 3 members from the parliament. That will be a permanent body. It's all in the Constitution. So any other formula that we try to follow, I mean, it has to follow the rule of law. If we want to promote the rule of law, we have to follow the Constitution and what the Constitution says. Right now, we have the judicial put 3 members.
They'll be rescinded because of allegations.
They will put it next week. They put 3. They ask for women to be put in because the new, again, the Constitution says that there has to be 30% women in the public administration, which is fine. So they put in their 3. They asked for, they were supposed to do it on the 4th of October. They will do it, probably this week or next week. They will put 3. The executive will put 3. That puts us at 6. The parliament has to put 3. That puts us at 9.
Based on a 2/3 vote that doesn't exist in the Senate with 20 members. You need 20 members to vote. The Senate President cannot vote.
I understand that, but we're looking for solutions. We can always focus on the problem. Like Haiti has been focusing on problems for the past 30 years. Right now, we're looking at a solution. And we have to look at the solution from within the Constitution. We cannot, what some of the opposition people are suggesting that we're doing at the temporary. And the temporary has led to instability, and it's not part of the Constitution. So, me as far as Prime Minister, I'm here. I'm ready to organize the election. My job will be to organize the election, or to provide the necessary environment, financing, and everything for the election to take place. What we need is the election. We cannot keep the country in a crisis because of who will take part when it's already in the Constitution. So the Parliament will have to find a way to provide their 3 members. That's what we're waiting for. Once that's ready, we do the election.
But there seems to have just been this stalemate. I mean, it's just hard to govern in Haiti for any government. The last prime minister who came in, I hate to say this, but was out pretty quickly after the visit. It is very frustrating, I'm sure, for your government, but at some point, the infighting is not productive for Haiti, obviously. It's hard to get investment and everything else. So is there a way for this government to say, okay, we may have been wrong in X, Y, and Z, let's circle back and try it again? I mean, is there some way, because yes, you have the Constitution that's saying this is the road, but if pragmatically it's not going to happen, what happens next? We have no elections until it gets settled?
No, but there are ways of solving that. The problem is with 8 members of the parliament. It's not with the whole parliament. Mm-hmm. Again, you have the Chamber of Deputies where we have almost 2/3 majority. Right. They're ready to move forward. 11 or 12 members in the Senate, they're ready to move forward. We have 8 members that are not ready to move forward. So that's who we have to have the talks with.
But you have 3 crises in one. You've got the process itself in the CSPG, the judicial branch, which was tainted, which got civil society activated, and they started screaming foul, and they now asked for that to be rescinded, not because of the lack of women, but because 2 members on that judicial council said that the members that were sent weren't properly vetted, and they asked the president not to accept. He didn't. It moved forward. So then you had civil society.
So let me ask you this. What is the vetting process, or what was the process to be followed? Because according to, again, whatever they said that they're an independent body. The CSPG, which is a new body that President Martelly put forward, it's a new body. And the Constitution told them you have to designate 3 people. Now, the definition of what the process should be is not defined. So when you say it's not accepted, it's an undefined. They have to send 3 people.
But if you have civil societies and you have members on that board that are saying that there's a problem with this, and then you had a judicial resolution last week that is now calling for 3 members of the Superior Court to be removed because Arnel Joseph, who's also with the CSPG, should not be sitting there because he's over the age of 65. I mean, I think what it all goes back to is the perception that today some can argue that the government has a perception problem with the public. How are you addressing the perception problem that seems to be fueling this opposition, whether it's warranted or not, in a country that's difficult to govern like Haiti?
Like you said, we are running a very difficult problem, and not only in this election issue, in the everyday running of the government, things are very complicated. So, in terms of perception, I believe that the president has sat down for almost 1 week with just about every member of the opposition, including the civil society. Last week myself, I had discussions with all the private sector, civil society, members of the press. We're talking to everybody. We're, at the end of the day, we are doing, maybe we should continue we're going to continue to do more until we find a solution. But it's not the lack of will or lack of goodwill to find solutions. In Haiti, it's always difficult to get a solution. Everybody is focused on the problem, but nobody is focusing on how to get a solution and move the country forward. The country has had infightings, have had fights for 200 years. In the past 30 years, we saw that formula doesn't work. The formula that works is you have a constitution. Let's try to find ways around that constitution in order to move forward. Finding ad hoc solutions or negotiated solutions, those create instability. And what the country needs now is jobs. In order to get the job, you need to have the stability. In order to have the stability, you need to talk to people and you need to continue talking. That's what we're doing. But, again, we hope that everybody has the good faith in order to put the country first and then move out of the problems. Look, all this problem here that we're having is to put a 9-member body. That's what the problem is all about. And we have 10 million people that are suffering because of a 9-member body and because of the same political, the same politicians that cannot get along. We have to put the interests of the people first. And I agree between 20 guys to put 3 people and move the country forward, because that's what it's all about now. Whether we want to see it or not, this is what it boils down to now. It's 9 people body. So
who will control elections, which has brought down many of.
No, they won't control elections. They won't control elections. It's the body. It's like the board of directors. There is also an administration of the election, plus there is a bunch of observers. It's not that they're going to control elections or anything. They're the board of administration.
But last year, Haiti had to call in the OAS because of that 9-member body that was controlling the elections, because the elections were not accepted.
Well, that's what I'm telling you. So the elections in Haiti, it's not 9 people that are going to control it. You have the OAS, the UN, you have everybody that's involved. Plus, you have the investment is made by the international community mostly. We're doing some, so there is going to be a lot of oversight on that process, and that process is being reviewed in order to come, because look, the problem was the judicial body. There was an outcry because they didn't agree to the 3. They agreed to retake it and to put other people. So there is movement on that side. On the executive side, we're probably gonna review ours as well to include the women. So there is movement. There is movement. I like to focus on the solution. Now, let's focus now on the parliament. Not the parliament, the 8 members of the Senate, because they cannot block it forever as well. You have different things. The problem here, what Jacqueline was saying, is that in the Senate you have 30 members. Out of the 30, what it says is 2/3 of that, so 20 have to agree to put in, to designate 3 members. Now, what happened is 10 out of the 30 members, they're out because their constitutional term ended. So you have 20 members left. So that basically, that's the issue right now. So they can look at different solutions from that. They can reduce the quorum, for example, making it 2/3 of 20, 2/3 of what's present now, instead of 2/3 of what's not present. Right? You have solutions. We cannot block. Again, I'm focusing on the 10 million people. Because I'm looking at the numbers every day. I'm looking at people that are not being able to eat. You know, I'm looking at people that are not being able that we need to put people to teach them how to read and write. That's what I'm focusing on. And you know, I'm not a politician, and you know me, I like to come up with solutions. And I see that we have 4 years, now less 3.5 years, to try to change things, you know, and leave a country on its feet. And it's not by fighting and discussing over an issue that can be solved. Everybody wants to be solved. So let's, you know, my take is let's sit down and let's come up with a solution.
Who could be the senator that breaks a solution? Sort of breaks bread with your administration and moves us forward? Who would you like to see? Who do you see has, you know, the ability to get the Senate just moving on this?
The thing, I mean, it's the body. It's the body. It's said that they have to sit down and agree. Basically, they have different solutions that they could decide. For example, between
But there's not one that could really lead the others in the direction of a solution that you're.
Yeah, that would be, you know, the president of the Senate.
Mhm.
He's the one, you know, he's a very capable person, very competent person. I think that you know, he needs to be given the support in order to strike the solution. But you know, the thing is, the solution right now, it's been all over the place. It's been judiciary, you know, not agreeing to their members, so it hasn't been focused on the parliament. Now that the judiciary is starting over, and they will put 3 members, you know, they were supposed to do it last Thursday. I think they're gonna do it this week. We agreed already, and the Constitution gives us the right to nominate 3 people. So we agreed to retake our people to include the women, because that's what the premise was about. And then, you know, then the country needs to move forward and to put 3 from the parliament.
A recent report came out that says that freedom of the press in Haiti is endangered. Mario Joseph, as you know, was actually here yesterday talking about this issue. He's a human rights lawyer. And then when we heard from the fired chief prosecutor who claimed that he had been given a list of 30 government opponents to arrest, on that list he says that there were also journalists on that list. I just wanted your reaction to this whole idea in terms of the press being under fire in this new administration.
Well, that is totally false. And if you look at the report that from the University of San Francisco that did the report, the only factual accusation that they're giving is that 3 journalists were arrested, not even by the government, but by a judge that happened to be there in accident scene. And I met myself with all the press leaders, and all of them agree that there is no persecution of the press, there is no extrajudicial killing, there is no pressure on journalists, and that one is completely out of line. I mean, this is, look, we haven't arrested, I mean, we don't have any political prisoners, we don't arrest people. Right now, President Martelly is, you know, you have people, you have opposition radio, you have people on the radio, you know, talking bad about him the whole day from the opposition, and they're doing so freely. There is no arrest of these people or anything, so that one is completely, and I would suggest that you check that those sources, you know, and you will see for yourself, you know, where they're coming from. But that one is completely out of line. The person that you're talking about, the public prosecutor, you know, he had a list that he provided, but the list he provided the list publicly. There is no political opponents on the list. There is no, nobody else. I mean, the list that I saw is mostly thieves and people that were escapees from jail that he provided on the list of 30, I think.
And he also provided the 2 lawyers that have brought corruption complaints against the First Family.
There was no order to arrest them. So I don't know where he's getting that from. In order for an arrest to be happening, there must be an order for the arrest to be done. That was never provided. I mean, we have to differentiate. And in Haiti, you have to differentiate the noise from the reality. Because if you listen to the noise, you will have all types of noise. But there is no substantive evidence information, to back it up. So you have to, and you know that very well, Jackie.
And finally, rice. 2008, after the food riots, President Preval implemented a rice subsidy program against the international communities, which is mainly the United States. They were objected to it. The World Bank has done a report that basically said that that program was a failure. Today in Haiti, even as the price of rice is going up on the market, you still have rice farmers in the Artibonite who take home rice that they can't sell. The criticism is that this rice policy you all have come up is just not rooted in sound policy. That if you're saying that you are for national production, but you're importing, rice from Japan and elsewhere, aren't you crushing your farmers? Isn't this an opportunity for you to promote your farmers that are already struggling to get, rid of their own produce?
Okay. Like I said, we're looking at a very price-sensitive consumer. The issue that we have is because of the bad policies of the past, the cup of rice that's imported from the United States costs 25 gourds. When 25 gourds is 40 goods for $1, about 55 cents for a cup. The same cup from the local rice is 95 gourds. So $2.20. So this is what we're facing right now. We cannot do it overnight because the solution would be to increase the tax on the imported rice, make it more expensive than the local rice. But if you do that, you have a riot, because then what you do is like instead of cutting out 100 or 200,000, then you have now 3 million people that cannot eat, that won't be able to afford it. And that's the rice. That's what they eat mostly, is the rice. So that's why what we've done is and again, we have to look at.
Why is it so much more expensive, the locally grown rice?
Inputs, fertilizers.
Well, not only that, you have you have no investment, so it's like a survival type of agriculture. So the production cost is higher than
Subsistence.
Right.
Yeah.
Not a lot of machinery.
No machinery. So so I just want to finish answering to Jackie. So that's why again, when people are saying that the strategy is not working, the policy is not even out yet. And you know what, we consulted, we have 3 weeks consulting with all the experts in order to come up with a good strategy this time. All I can tell you is that the only thing that we've done has produced a 4.6% reduction of the price. And really, all that we've done is say that what we're gonna do. Because of course, if you're looking at markets, you say you're gonna do this, the price already went down. That's the only fact. The only rest, the rest of it is the stuff that I've given you, the policy that we will take, they will have a positive effect on the market. I mean, it's common sense. For a country to have storage, I don't know who can be against having some storage.
Herald tried it, it failed.
Where are the silos?
I don't know, but this was a huge issue with the storage for the rice.
Iris didn't do that. Iris imported rice called peace rice in order to go and sell it on the market at a lower price, and that didn't fail because that was corruption ridden. That's not the same. Us, we're talking about storage to have a strategic storage of rice, so that you put rice on the market and little by little, especially in the government programs, to make sure that your school canteens have enough rice to feed the kids and things like that. That's what we're talking about. So our seed was completely different than what we're doing now. We're not importing rice to sell.
You've been very generous with your time, but I just want to ask one thing. Why does your government insist on creating a national army when both your domestic critics and international critics all seem to agree that that's one of the last things they need?
Well, what we're doing is reinforcing the police. Since my government has came, that's what we've been focusing on. we put up the National Development Plan of the Police from 2012 to 2016, where we increased number of police officers from 10 to 15,000. We're creating 4 new police departments. One is the border department. It is losing between $300 to $500 million on the Haiti-Dominican border. So we need to have a police presence patrolling the border in order to make sure that at least the illegal smuggling stops happening and we can recoup. You know, I'm very focused. You will see that we're very focused on increasing revenue of the government, whether it's taxes, whether it's illegal smuggling, whether it's border control. It's all with the intent of increasing the revenue because, of course, you know, like I told you, out of the $3 billion budget, we're only generating 1 million of that. So we have 2 million to make up. And out of that 2 million, I just told you that we're losing 300 to 500 million on the Dominican border. We're losing another 200 million from people not paying their taxes. 10% of the population pays taxes. So we could recoup a good billion, you know, just from good policy and good and commonsensical policies, which is tax collection, border control, creating investments.
But creating an army remains a goal, at least on paper. Right?
Well, the president had discussed it. We have a participatory approach to governing. That's why, you know, and we will do the same for this CSP, the election approach. That's what we're doing.